All right, I'm out here putting out another salt block for my cow, and that brings up a very important topic, which is salt. All right, and that's probably one of the most common questions I get asked. Actually, there's two, and the first one is, how much salt should I be adding to my dog's carnivore diet? And how much salt should I be consuming if I'm on a carnivore diet? So if you're new to this channel, my name's Jacob, and let's dive right into that topic about salt. So I think it goes without saying that over the last few decades, salt has been demonized in a very, very big way. And that's largely unwarranted as long as you're consuming the right kind of salt. So the salt I'm putting out for my cow, it's a mineral block. It has over 80 some trace minerals in there, as well as sodium, because sodium is in fact a mineral. And when it comes to consuming salt, that's what's most important, is that you consume salt that still has the minerals intact. Because where it becomes problematic is when you're consuming stuff like table salt, because that's basically 100% sodium. All the minerals and stuff have been stripped out of it. It's been highly refined, and just like everything refined that humans make, it's absolutely toxic for you because it's straight sodium. All the other beneficial stuff's been stripped out, and then they add iodine in there and they make iodized table salt, and that's even worse for you because the iodine they add in is synthetic and it's very poor quality and it has low bioavailability, so it's not really doing anything for you. And in the case with most synthetic vitamins and minerals, it goes into your body and your body doesn't really know what to do with a lot of that stuff, and it can kind of wreak havoc on your system. So that's the kind of salt you want to avoid, and the kind of salt you want to consume is mineral salt. Something like red mineral salt, pink Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, sea salt, Jacobsen salt. So there's a lot of really good natural salts to choose from, and there's really no wrong answer when it comes to picking one. Just pick one that you enjoy. And keep in mind that there are some that have been shown to have higher levels of heavy metals and stuff in there. But I think when it comes to anything that's mined from the earth and that comes from the sea specifically, there's a pretty good chance that there's going to be heavy metals and stuff in there just because some of those things are naturally occurring in the environment. But with that said, you probably don't want to pick something that's super high in heavy metals, so that's just something to be mindful of. And not only do I put salt out for my cow, I also put it out for my deer. So deer will actually travel for miles to find salt, and that's very telling because it just goes to show how important salt actually is. And it's so important that if we don't have enough of it in our blood, we cease to exist. So salt's pretty darn important. All right, so with that said, let's just talk about the first question I get asked the most, and that is, how much salt should I be adding to my dog's carnivore diet? So a lot of that's going to depend on your dog's weight, size, and breed, but on average, most dogs require about 0.25 to 1.5 grams of sodium per 100 grams of food. Keeping in mind that meat already has some sodium in there, so you also want to take that into account. But as long as you're structuring and proportioning your dog's meals properly, that should get you right around where you need to be. And it's also important to keep in mind that there is such a thing as too much sodium for dogs. All right, and too much sodium can actually lead to sodium toxicity, which is fatal for dogs. And the amount of sodium that can be fatal for dogs is around 1.5 grams per pound of body weight for your dog. Anything above that is going to be fatal. That is potentially toxic. So you want to avoid giving too much salt to your dog. So if you're feeding your dog something that already has sodium in there, be mindful of that. Also, like I said, be mindful of the amount of sodium that's already in the meat if you're going to add additional sodium to your dog's food. And when it comes to people, that's where it gets super easy because we don't really get toxicity from sodium. If we eat too much sodium, we just expel it. We either have diarrhea or we pee it out. So that makes it super easy for us. And for us to figure out how much sodium we need, it's just a matter of trusting your intuition, trusting your gut. Just eat as much salt as you want until it starts tasting too salty. And that's really all you have to do. For some people, they don't feel great when they consume a lot of salt with their food. I'm one of those people, I love to consume a lot of salt. I salt my food to taste. When it starts tasting too salty, I back off. And that's basically what I use as a general guideline. Also, for me personally, if I don't salt my food enough, I get muscle cramps, specifically in my calves when I'm trying to sleep, which is not a fun thing. So if you're getting cramps, if you're getting muscle twitches, or heart palpitations, or you feel lethargic and just low on energy, maybe you need to up your salt. For some people, it could be the opposite. So if you're consuming a lot of salt and you're experiencing those things, maybe you need to back off. And I've actually even seen people that consume too much salt and get like edema. They get, puffiness in their legs, swelling to their ankles, maybe puffiness under the eyes. stuff like that. But I usually see that more with people that consume table salt, because that is a very real phenomenon that occurs from that. If you're consuming the right kind of salt, like mineral salt, real salt, pink salt, that kind of stuff, it's pretty rare that you're going to have that. But just keep in mind that it is a possibility, because everybody's different. We all react differently to different things. So if you're having problems and you're consuming a lot of salt, back off. If you're having problems and you're not consuming a lot of salt, consider adding some in there. And really, it's just a matter of fine-tuning that, trusting your gut, trusting your intuition, listening to what your body is telling you, and finding the amount that works best for you. Because when it comes to salt for people, there's really no one size fits all, and we all have to kind of blaze our own trail and figure out what works best for us. But just like I mentioned before, the type of salt does matter. So just make sure you're consuming a high quality salt that's not full of heavy metals and still has all the other minerals intact. Do not consume table salt. And it's really that simple, which in the modern age of all this confusion and contradiction, the simpler the better. So be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know how much salt you include on your carnivore diet. And as a matter of fact, share your favorite kind of salt, because I'm always up for trying something new.